Hello everyone. You will see in the background here I have You will see in the background here I have SimCity running for the Super Nintendo. And what you are actually seeing is a city I made recently. 911,000 residents, which is pretty impressive. But when I scroll around the city, you're probably like, he had to have cheated to make this. I don't understand how he did any of this, especially right here. Look at all these tops. Well, the fact is, I didn't do any cheating. I simply took advantage of the mechanics of this game. Mechanics that not many people really know. I think when we were all growing up playing this game back in the day, we just kind of made some assumptions about the game and then just kind of went from there. But what ended up happening is a lot of those assumptions are not true. For example, let me just show you real quick in my total screen. I have hardly any industrial zones. I used to make over 300 industrial zones growing up playing this game. You will also notice I have hardly any police stations and even less fire stations. I have no schools or hospitals either. Now, I don't know about you, but back in the day it's like, oh man, I have to have a police department everywhere. I have to have fire coverage. We need schools and hospitals for the residents. You need all that. But you don't see hardly any of that or any of it at all in my city. Yet, here it is, fully developed, over 900,000. So, what I'm going to do is make a mini video series of videos to help shed light on what you're looking at here. In particular, I want to share the knowledge I know of this game to everyone else in the hopes that I can have or help a lot of you get to this level of building. And you know what? Even if you're a casual builder and you're just like, I've never got a megalopolis, I'd really like to get one, which is 500,000, these videos are going to help you out too. And again, there was no cheating done to make this city at all. So, before I make some videos on some advanced strategies, I'm going to use this video as an introduction video and explain a few things that we need to get out there before you watch those other videos. Number one, these videos are not going to be for someone who's never played this game before. This isn't a guide on how to play the game. It's, hey, you know how to play the game, you know most of the basics, but you just want to take it to the next level. That's what these guides are for, okay? Now, there's actually three, I'm going to say three. There's going to be three prerequisites that you need to do if you are interested in learning this. Learning all the techniques, learning to get your megalopolis, learning to get 600,000 or 700,000, or even up to 900,000. No matter what population you want to get, there's three important things you need to do first. And number one, that is, you need to not play this on console. Okay. The reality is that there is a terrible glitch in SimCity on the console, and you may have heard of it before, and that is the startup bug. So what the startup bug does is it's essentially when you load your game, like you save the game, you turn the console off, you turn it back on, load the game, you're going to notice something will happen. You're going to notice that the power is going to go out. You're going to notice some of your zones that you've built kind of revert back. And what also happens that you don't see is crime increases quite a bit. The reason this happens is the game, while you see your city, hasn't loaded everything in yet. And, you know, it does significant damage that really isn't reversible. So if the startup bug, for example, hits this residential top, it's not going to come back and turn back into a top. If this commercial zone were to get hit by the startup bug and revert back, it would not become a top again. So the startup bug is just really, really a hindrance, and we want to avoid it, which is why you should emulate the game instead. I can't tell you where or how to emulate the game, but it's out there, and that's the only way I can play this game at this point anymore. Okay. Now, let's just assume that the startup bug was not a thing, and it would still be more optimal to play on an emulator, because in an emulator you can fast forward the game. Okay? The basics of the game is you lay a zone down, give some power to it if needed, it gets power, it starts developing, but the process of it fully developing is very slow, and so you can actually save a significant amount of your time if you can fast forward through that. So what I would recommend, again, use an emulator, not just because you can avoid the startup bug, but you can avoid the slowness of building. If I did not use an emulator to fast forward through this city probably would have taken like 20 times longer to build. And it already took long enough. Okay. But really going back real quick, when it comes to saving the game state, so if I hit this key, it essentially saved a certain part of the game and kind of paused it there per se. You can create multiple save states, so if I kind of run through mine, by the way, I have multiple save states of this city because I like to have a backup if something really bad happens. You have a backup. So I have like 8 or 9 save states here, but yeah, that is why you want to use an emulator. So prereq number 1, you want to play an emulator. Number 2, you want to use the money cheat. Now, I just told you I didn't cheat to make this city. And I didn't. I did not do anything mechanically different. I used only the mechanics the game provided me. But the money cheat is just done for a quality of life thing. Okay? You could, if you really wanted to, make a surplus in this game and then fast forward and just spend even more time waiting to get money. That doesn't sound very fun. I'd rather save a lot more time and just use the money cheat and get the money right off the bat. And in fact, I had to use the money cheat like 5 or 6 times to actually get this city done. So I used it quite a few times. The last prereq, I would say, is optional, but I found it to be very, very, very nice. And that is turning disasters off. And you might be like, wait, you can turn disasters off in this game? Yes. Yes, you can. I don't consider turning disasters off cheating, because all disasters are doing is wasting your time. You build for 35 minutes, or more, and then an earthquake hits. Now, growing up as a kid, it's fun to turn them all on and destroy your city. Like, that was all fun, but if you really want to get a high population, it'd be nice just if you didn't have to worry about those. Now, I'm lying to a certain extent. When I say you can turn disasters off, you can turn disasters off. However, one disaster can still happen. But I'm going to hold off on that. We'll talk about it in a different video. How do you turn disasters off? Is there an option up here? Well, there actually isn't an option. The way you turn disasters off is through the debug menu. It's like a secret menu you can access in the game that has a list of interesting settings. To give you an example, one of those settings is the ability to toggle on bulldozing water. And if you bulldoze water in that case with it on, it will turn it into land. So you could essentially make a free land map where you can get gifts. That's cheating, though. That's giving you more land. That's completely changing the way you play the game. So I didn't turn that on. But there is an option in those settings to toggle off disasters. And that is how you turn disasters off. Next question you might have is, okay, so it's a list of settings and one of them turns disasters off. How do I access the debug menu? It's pretty easy. What you want to do is just Google it or look it up somewhere. Okay, debug menu, SimCity SNES. And upon doing that, it's going to give you a set of really easy instructions. Does not require anything crazy that you need to do. If you follow those, you will access the debug menu. Very easy. Anybody can do it. You can do it on the console. Okay. You can do it in the emulator. Just please understand that when you are doing or trying to access the debug menu on an emulator, you need to understand that the second controller has to be the one that types in the code, okay? On a console, you just plug a second controller. In an emulator, you have to go to the settings and you can set up a second controller. Now, when I say second controller, you don't need to literally plug a controller into your computer. I've only ever played SimCity on the keyboard. So you'll need to set up two different sets of keys, one for controller 1 and controller 2. And controller 1 should have the keys that feel comfortable to you, and controller 2 should just be some random keys that you just got to memorize or write down to do the debug menu or to access it. Okay, so yeah. So let's just kind of go down those three things. Emulate the game. Always apply the money cheat when playing. And an optional third thing you can do is turn disasters off just to make your life a little nicer. So just to kind of wrap this introduction video up, I plan to make some, when I say some, it'll be maybe 6 to 8 videos. And by the time you watch all of those videos, you should be able to understand everything that you are seeing in this city behind you. And understand what I'm doing, and be able to kind of do it yourself. Okay?